Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gore Call in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out big news. Guys, if you're looking for an emerging nickel mine, then you're going to love this interview with Power Nickel, who reported one of the best nickel holes in recent memory. They're aiming to become one of Canada's next low-carbon, high-grade nickel mine, thanks to the acquisition of 80% of the NISK project from Critical Elements Lithium, which trades under CRE. So they're a great JV partner here. And what they're doing is they're aiming to supply low-carbon Class 1 nickel to the developing North American electric vehicle supply chain. The NISK property comprises a large land position with numerous historical high-grade nickel intercepts and a historical 43101, but that's going to be updated as early as this summer. Hopefully, we're going to talk about that with Terry. NISK lies on the site of a number of mining projects and infrastructure, Critical Elements, Galaxy Resources, Nemaska Lithium. And why is nickel important? It plays a critical role in lithium-ion batteries. 39% of lithium-ion batteries contain nickel. Expect to rise to 58% by 2025. So that's a massive jump. Demand is driving prices higher. And the press release today, Power Nickel extends nickel mineralization in multiple holes on his fall 2022 drill program. Terry, welcome back, my friend.
Great to be here, George. That's quite a mouthful, man. That's impressive.
Well, you got a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
You guys got a lot going on. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, before we get into the details about the actual numbers here, how happy are you? What does this press release mean for the company and the shareholders?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great news. I mean, bottom line, it means that what we said, that we were going to move the NISK project from a historical resource to a commercial mineable resource in a very rapid period of time, that we would be able to, we think, update our 43101 June, July this year and go to maybe 8 to 10 million tons then, and that would make it definitely commercial. So every step we make with these new assays is further evidence that we're executing on that vision, that we're going to deliver the goods, and that'll be a great day for our shareholders. So that's why it's important for us. And
your current 43101, which we've got to make sure everyone knows, is technically can't be relied upon because historical, but there's about 3 million tons in it there in all the different categories. You're aiming for 8 to 10 million tons, right? For the next one.
I mean, there's been a bit of a sequence there. We had put out another report in August of last year that it used metallurgical numbers that were more than 10 years old, and we didn't, our QP at the time didn't realize that was not allowed in BC. So subsequently we had to pull that report. So with so that we had so internally we, at that point, we had modeled 5 million tons. So now we're since then we've drilled probably 10,000 meters, and we'll probably get to 15,000 meters by the time it's all said and done here. So we expect, as you're drilling, we've reported on 10 holes now. We've got 10 more holes in the in the can, so to speak. We're waiting for the assays on, and as these holes are drilled, you get a fairly good feel for what you're dealing with, right? Your nickel's not like gold, where gold you pretty much almost have to rely on the assays, and it's very rare to have truly visible gold that you can sort of say with any veracity there's something there. But nickel, you get a much better feel for things. So we feel fairly comfortable that those numbers that we talked about are going to be true. And the exciting part is that it's we've met with many great geologists who are now significant shareholders. We've met with a lot of industry folks that won't be spending time on projects that are just BS. Like so this is, in their minds, a very real and very exciting project. So the more evidence we can give to our investor base and the community that we're continuing to execute on our vision and that we're delivering the goods, and hopefully at some point that'll lead to positive stock price performance. So that's it's always at the battle at the end of the day.
Your hole 22-0-012 looks like a big hole, almost 3% of nickel equivalent. Give us some context of what this should mean to investors, and what does it mean maybe to your overall picture of the project.
Yeah, we've been lucky, we've been able to, like, with follow up, 2209 was our last hole release, which is 40 meters of about 1.6%. So, we're getting these thick intercepts, and high grade. And so that's, call it $800 rock. That would be maybe it's going to cost you $80 to process. Like, the margins will be crazy good on this type of rock. So the economics will be very compelling. And, so as an investor, you're looking for evidence always for your mining companies to continue to prove their deposits are substantive and quantifiable and believable. And so these are all big steps. You can't fake those numbers. Those are big numbers, and multiple holes too. That was the other thing that was impressive. It wasn't just one hole. There was four other holes, 4 holes in total, I guess, that were more than 1% nickel. So there's not a lot of that around. I mean, nickel is just a really tough one to find in any sort of high grade quantity. You can, there's lower grade mines out there that are available to be found, and there's some good examples of it in Canada, and maybe those things will get financed as well. But I'll give you a quick math lesson. High grade nickel sulfide mine would probably cost you somewhere 225 to 350 million to build, depending on if you just want to make nickel sulfate or if you want to make nickel powders and nickel anodes and nickel wire. But if you're looking at some of these lower grade mines, it's over $1 billion. And the returns, it would be 20% for the billion one and more than 50% for the high grade. So it's quite a different set of economics. So it's really, it's exciting when you're able to deliver that. And then the neat part about it is this is just one pod, and this is every single nickel sulfide mine in the history of the world has always been multiple pod. So this is an ultramafic deposit. Other ultramafic deposits in Canada were Lynn Lake, 22 million tons, Voisey's Bay, over 50. So our scientific team, we believe we're going to be between 20 to 50 million tons. That'll make this ultimately a billion dollar deal. I mean, so there's a good reason to be excited if you're a Power Nickel shareholder and investor at this point in time.
Devil's advocate. I mean, can you say that the high level of confidence? Because I took time to write that down. I want to timestamp it. 20 to 50 million tons by the time it might be all over. Is that 2, 3, 4 years from now? And how high level of confidence do you have in saying something like that?
So I mean, I'm highly confident on the 8 to 10, and then what I've always qualified people saying, hey, look, Mother Earth is always providing us interesting news. In the history of time, so far, every nickel sulfide mine has been multiple pod. So based on that, I'm assuming that we're not going to be that unusual. We'll also be multiple pod. But hey, Mother Earth, she can always throw us a curveball and we'll be the first one. But God bless her. She'll do what she does and we'll do what we do. But how we're going to find the other pods is interesting, George. I don't know if we've spent any time on that, but we've engaged with a very cool company called Fleet Technologies. And Fleet Technologies is out of Australia. Elon Musk sort of brought them to Talon Metals, and that's where I discovered them. And basically he put the satellites in the air. And what these guys do is they got this thing called ambient noise technology, and they take what looks like almost like little landmines and they put them on your property about 100 meters spread out. And they have they basically send sonar pulses into the earth. It comes back as sound waves, sound maps, and they collect those, and then they correlate those sound maps, using algorithms to the scientific data that you've got. So in our case, we have hard evidence, empirical evidence, assay results, dimensions, widths, etc., for our drilling. So they can correlate those sound maps to those drilling data, and then they can come up in 4 days with a 3D visualization on your site. And what does that do for you? Well, as a miner, well, it allows you to look at your deposit in real time and sort of say, hey, we've gotten 75% of the deposit, but we've missed these areas over here. Let's go infill there because that's shooting fish in the barrel. So that's good. Second thing it does is, it sees down to 2,000 meters. So potentially these things could be stacked. So maybe we got a stacked system. Well, it'd be nice to know that. So then you have some, do some deeper drilling.
When you start deploying that, Terry, you guys deploying that right now?
No, not in May, into May. And then the third thing and most important thing is it gives us a signature that we can take. Right now we're exploring 1 square kilometer of a 45 square kilometer package. So we're going to take this, move it around until we're going to find out if there's any other signatures like that. In likelihood, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 of these things. And then we're going to find them in an efficient way, in an environmentally friendly way. And then we're going to be able to drill them and spend less money drilling, you know, because we're shooting fish in the barrel. And that's what we hope will bring us to the 20 to 50
But
million
more
tons.
importantly, yeah, you'll have that picture of how many pods you potentially you have a lot quicker than. So in other words,
Yeah,
it
I
might
mean,
take in years before, but now you
exactly.
put this system out in May. How long will it take for
Yeah,
it to?
so basically 6 to 8 weeks.
My God! So by
Yeah,
the end of by July or whatever the case is,
yeah,
you could have a really good idea of what
where
you've
the other
got.
pods are. Yeah. So that, yeah, so I think it's like, you
That's
know, we've got
exciting, man.
multiple legs to this story, you know, an exciting first discovery, obviously ongoing proof that that's being evidenced by the drill bit. You know, obviously we're in Quebec, which is, God bless us, you know, Quebec is the best jurisdiction in the world to be exploring for right now because of, you know, the 2-for-1 exploration dollars. They've done an amazing job with the local, you know, community relations. So like, for example, the Cree, our original partner, we stay in a Cree resort. All of our drillers that are drilling out there today, they'll stay there at the Cree resort tonight. They're, you know, so they've been, you know, the Quebec government's worked with them to help them understand how they can benefit and prosper from mining. You know, and I think people forget that in mining, almost 10% of the labor force is Aboriginal, you know, and it's like, you know, we're trying to, you know, sort of engage with these communities. The best thing we can do is do more mining because we actually hire them and have always hired them, and we pay huge money. You know, so it's a great sort of ESG move as well. You know, so there's some really interesting things happening there, and I think the neat part about Quebec now, in addition to the obviously infrastructure, we're across the road from Hydro-Quebec substation, we're literally off a 4-lane highway, down 8 kilometers from an airport and Nemaska Lithium. But get this, you get 2-for-1 exploration. I mean, people say, well, what do you mean by that? I'm saying, well, imagine this. George is going to give me $1. I'm going to give it to, you know, a Quebec-based financial institution, and their investor is going to give me $2. And that's exactly what happened in November. Okay, that what does everyone? How does everyone win into that? Well, the Quebec-based financial institution investor is inspired by the incentives set up by the provincial governments and by the federal governments to do exactly just this, to reduce their taxes, investing in critical minerals. So the governments accomplish what they want to accomplish to get more investment in critical minerals. This guy, the Quebec-based tax investor, goes from paying 55% to 42%. And you, as an investor, you gave me $1 and I've turned it into 2. So now I got twice as much money working to de-risk your investment. How good is that? And from a company's perspective,
that's actually too good to be true. That's actually too good. You don't hear
I
about
know
that
it sounds
anywhere else.
crazy. That's why I try and dumb it down and explain it like that, so people know that, and it actually works because I've done it, and I was the buyback investor the last time. You know, so I wrote a check for $1 million too. You know, so it's like, you know, it's a tremendous way to advance the company forward in a non-dilutive way for our shareholders, and we can do that going forward in Quebec, which is awesome. So I can do that to lesser extents in Ontario and in BC, but in Quebec it's I think in BC it's like 1.7, Ontario I think it's about 1.5, and Quebec 2.1. So yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Let's talk about the updated 43-101 that a lot of people are really anxious about. And I'm reading after you've completed another 10 drill holes and you've got some others that are waiting to come back assay, you would expect to be in a position to deliver 43-101 by end of June or early July.
Yeah, so we're basically, we've hired XBS, who are sort of a leader in metallurgical studies. So they're doing the metallurgical study that we needed to update it, which we had always planned to update. But anyway, we've got it going, and it'll be part of our PEA later in the year. So we'll have that. We're expecting to have that end of April, early May, and that's the other piece we're waiting on. So we'll have that, and we'll just be waiting on the rest of the assays to come in to update the 43-101, and you know, we'll get it out there, as I said, end of June, early July. It's definitely going to happen.
Safe to say you guys are sitting on pins and needles. You're excited, maybe some inside bets internally as to what you guys are going to be able to report.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think for us, we're just convinced that we're going to evidence that it's going to be commercial, and you know, the number is going to grow, and we think we're going to be a lot bigger than this in any event. So it's just like we need to, you know how it is. I mean, junior mining's not had a huge winner for a long time. You know, I'm talking about stocks that go from 10 cents to $10.
Well,
and we need that.
Patriot Battery Metals is actually
Patriot, yeah, Patriot's an excellent
last
one.
time I saw it was $15, $16.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure where it is now.
no,
It's an
that's an
unbelievable
excellent
story.
one, you know. And honestly, I missed in that one. I had a chance to get in there earlier. I missed that one. It was just anyway, you know, it's always.
Well, now you got Power Nickel, so at least you got
but
a
now
big
you know
second
what?
kick of the
But
can.
I got Power Nickel, and you know, it's yeah. But I think that those are the things we need, is these big wins, and they're there. And honestly, there are you know, I think, you know, this couldn't be a better time for people to be looking at investing in these nano cap, small cap, because there's a number of them that are out there that have actually got tremendous bones. Like, they're going to become mines, and they're going to be worth a lot more, you know. And you know, the challenge is, will it be happening tomorrow? Will it be happening in a month from now? So that part I can't tell you. I mean, the good thing I like about RDL and nickel, because people sort of say, well, maybe you'll never be discovered. I say, well, you know what's going to be discovered? Industry has discovered us, and either the market's going to wake up, or I'll end up selling it to industry. Now, I might only get 200 million to industry, when I'd like to be given the horsepower to grow this to $1 billion or $2 billion. But if I got to stay at 30 or get 200, well, I'm going to take the 200 and adios. You know what I mean? But I mean, this is where we're at in the market. Is the market needs to recognize that, like, nickel is a little different than precious metals. Okay, industry players are being told, if you want to get contracts with us at GM, at Ford, at the Department of National Defense, etc., you need to have a domestic supply of nickel. And so that means they're coming back to us now, little nano cap miners, and saying, hey, you don't have to be just a dumb commodity guy anymore. Maybe you can get a seat at the table. Maybe we'll put up the money we can be in joint venture, and we can get into nickel anode business, and the nickel wire business, and the nickel powder business. Triple your economics. I don't know that that's going to happen, but those conversations are happening. And that's what's different about nickel versus, you know, gold or precious metals, because, you know, nobody's coming to the gold and precious metals guys like that. So that's what's different. That's why at the end of the day,
there's real demand from people who
Power
need
Nickel's
it really
going to get, Power Nickel will get, I believe, financed, and will either get financed by industry or by the market. I hope the market wakes up soon enough that happens. If it doesn't, then we'll sell it to industry and we'll just move along.
And kind of like tailing on to that, the macro picture for nickel, for people who are just discovering Power Nickel.
So there's three markets in nickel. There's the China market, the Europe market, and the North American market. So in China right now, you've got an oversupply of class 1 nickel, and that's, you know, a larger oversupply of what we call class 2 nickel and recycled nickel. The reason why that is, you know, what drives you know, the overall nickel market is stainless. Stainless is basically urbanization. So as people have more fridges and stoves, and if they're moving from an agrarian village and they're moving into a condo for the first time, they get pots and pans, fridges and stoves that all have stainless. So China's construction industry has been shut down for many months because of COVID. So that killed that stainless market in China. And it affected also the battery manufacturers as well. So now the one thing we can say with commodities, once they go inside China, they never get out. You know, they're never coming this way. So that's not really impacting North American prices or European prices. In Europe and in Canada or in North America, you've got basically a shortage of class 1 nickel, and it's sort of a balance in the class 2 and recycled nickel. In the next 2 or 3 years, it's expected to, like last year, we had 10 million electric cars. Within, I think by 2030, they're expecting to get to over 40 million. Right. So yeah, the numbers are going to be ridiculous. So the demand for nickel right now, electrification is only 10%. They're expecting within 5 years, it's up to 50%. There won't be, there's simply, I don't think it'll ever get there, because I don't believe it's possible for us to find that much nickel or produce it in that period of time. So the math will definitely have to change. But for sure, if you have a you know, reliable constituency like Canada and Quebec, and you have a high-grade nickel sulfate deposit, there's no question you're going to get financed and built and get to the market. So nickel is, you know, a sleeping giant. And I think across the board, there's a lot of great, you know, interesting, like, I mean, we looked, when we compare ourselves to other nickel sulfide discoveries around the world. We look at Talon Metals, we look at Magna Mining, a great one in Northern Ontario. We look at Botswana, Premier Nickel. There's a couple of good Aussie plays in there, and they're all trading between 150 million to 500 million US, and they're down 50% from their highs. So these are not hot stocks right now. Now we're up from our lows, but people say, well, maybe I missed it. I'm saying you missed the Ukrainian debt, you know, but the reality is we financed this thing 24 months ago at 25 cents and 40 cents. And now we're back to 33. It's not like phenomenal performance. That's, yeah, since December or November, we went from 10 cents to 30. Yeah, but we should never have been at 10 cents anyway. That was ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous where we're at right
false
now,
bottom.
but,
You can almost, I mean, we can't give financial advice, but it's almost a false bottom at the end.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, hey, still early days. People think you missed it, guys. And this is why I say to investors, you're not buying junior mining stocks to make 5 cents. If you are, please stop buying these stocks.
Yeah.
You know, that's ridiculous. Why would you take that risk? You're buying these things to make 10 times your money and 100 times your money. And not all of them are going to hit. Of course, that's why you have a basket of these things. But sometimes you can find these ones and you can sort of look and say, damn, that looks good. You know, and I mean, that's when, this is why, you know, mining investing was always such a passion in this country, because there were all sorts of examples of that. They're going to come again. Patriot Battery Metals was a great example, George, and good for you to bring that up. You know, and let's get a few more of those Patriot Battery Metal stock successes out there.
Well, it seems
Country
like they're
needs it.
coming because the demand is coming, whether you like it or not, and we love it, from electric vehicle batteries. So as long as you've got the goods, you stand a really good chance of being highly commercialized, right? This isn't George and Terry looking for gold and we'll see if we can find it. And the gold market's just the same as always has been.
Yeah.
We'll see, there's real demand coming, and there's going to be a squeeze. You're right. At some point, the math will have to correct, but there will come a point when I think nickel prices are going to be really high, and companies like Power Nickel, if you guys, God bless, are at that point, you're just going to benefit from it until the math corrects. But I think we're going to get into a high deficit stage, which means high prices stage, you know, in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, very likely, very likely.
So last question, we know what's going on as far as NISK and what's going to be happening between now and the summer, and that's a lot. That's awesome. So there's more assays to come, even more fresh drill holes that you guys still have, and you still got to drill some more stuff. Then you've got that Elon Musk backed tech company. I can't wait until you deploy that in May. So as far as the operations go, man, we got amazing runway in front of us. What's next for Power Nickel corporately?
Yeah, so, you know, we've got some really great copper gold assets, and we last year we had planned to spin it out last year, but there really was just, you know, how depressed the market was last year. Just, you know, just shooting ourselves in the head. But I think there's going to be a copper gold exploration market, and a couple things have happened that make me more positive. One, Chile has stepped back from the brink and rejected the constitution, which would have been devastating for, I think, for the country, and that's why they got widely defeated, and would have been bad for mining investment. So they stepped back from the brink. So Chile's open for business again, and what's interesting, we have some of the largest land packages in Chile, between 4 to 6 to 8,000 hectares. Think of it, 8,000 hectares is the size of the city of Toronto. Okay, so imagine you're trying to explore Metro Toronto. That's a huge. We've all been to Toronto.
Almost too big.
It's massive. So you need to have a regional program, some way to analyze the data over a regional section and say, okay, I'm going to focus my effort and energies here. So, seismic would have been the normal way to do that, and then gravity, etc. The problem with that in desert environments is you have this thing called caliche, which is mineralized limestone. And it basically, one of the negative things it does is it obstructs the signals from gravity and seismic feeds. And so it does, you can't get a true signal. And so therefore the data you get, you're not really sure if it's good or bad. So generally what you do in those situations, you take these little blaster rigs out there, you go down to the bottom of these sand dunes, and then you just put your nodes in there. But that's expensive, time consuming. And you imagine trying to do that over 8,000 hectares, it'd be taking forever. So cool. Fleet Technologies, when they first deployed in West Australia, they found copper mines and lithium mines in the desert. So when they're giving me the pitch on NISK, and I'm getting educated, and
you say, come on down to Chile.
then I was saying, hey, so guys, you're in the desert of West Australia. They got caliche down there. How's that working? And they said, yeah, beat sound waves, not a problem. It's going down there and coming back. And I'm like saying,
Oh.
wow, that's mind blowing. So basically the plan is we're spinning out our copper gold. We'll be announcing that shortly. That'll definitely move forward this year. First order of business is take those, once we're done with it at NISK, they're going down to Chile and they're going to go on our Zulema project down there, and we'll see what lies beneath the sands of Chile. But I mean, it's
Will
exciting.
you guys do that before the spin out, or do the spin out then?
Yeah, no,
the caliche?
the basic timeline of the spin out, it hasn't been completed, but generally I would think we'd approve it at our annual meeting in May, and plan of arrangement would take place in July. So we wouldn't be done with at NISK until then. So it would be happen subsequently in other ones. So the plan on the spin out is pretty simple. We would keep 60 to 70%, 20 to 30% would go to our existing shareholders, and would use another 10% or so to finance to create the $1 million in cash or $1.5 million in cash in that company to do the exploration in BC and then in Chile, and then they'll find their own legs, and we've got a management team coming in there that'll we'll be the board obviously, but we'll be able to execute on that, and yeah, so that will be the plan.
Yeah, and it makes sense to take it just to separate the nickel from the copper gold, because
yeah, I mean,
our nickel, NISK is getting all the attention, and anything else is going to get overshadowed.
100%. I mean, that's how we ended up with NISK, right? Because Critical was focused on lithium, as they should, because they've got a world-class project there, done a great job with it, and we're going to be obviously trying to do the same thing with nickel. And yet these other assets are not invaluable, just like NISK wasn't invaluable. It is a valuable asset, and we think that the copper gold asset there, and the great play that we've got, the copper gold play in the Golden Triangle, which was going to be our flagship, will have a chance to grow under this new program.
Well, that's great. I mean, Power Nickel shareholders, as long as you're holding by record date, you're going to get some, I don't know, free
bonus
stock essentially,
yep.
right? In a second company. So that's something else to look forward to. Love it, Terry. I love the way you've set up everything in Power Nickel. I love what you're doing. And again, you're an industry leader. You're a giant because of everything you've done to support everybody else with the short selling syndicates, all that. And so it's amazing to see you guys having such nice early success. Can't wait to have you back, my friend, because there's so much happening. I can't wait between now and the end of July as to where Power Nickel is going to be sitting.
All right, George, thanks for having us, and great to chat with you again. We'll look forward to seeing you face to face at PDAC.
Always great having you, my friend. For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening to my podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Terry Lynch, he's a CEO of Power Nickel, PNPN in Canada, PNPNF in the United States. Start your due diligence, because you've seen this press release. You watched the interview for the first time. Get to the company's profile page in Agoracom, because there's a lot going on. So we give you that layman review first, get you comfortable, give you a good base of knowledge, and then from there, head right over to the Power Nickel website, do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.